hearts are spinning now, round and round as I hit the grounds, wanting a pure dread out on the overhead in a monotonic tone. There are men and women trapped in that room, flames scorching them, but they'll be out soon. Oh, it's such a shame. Hi, everybody, still here? Sorry about singing. Your just song was on my head, wanted to sing it. Kind of started and hit record and just didn't stop. We're back. Sorry for the extremely short Wednesday episode. The ice cream was good. They were out of peanut butter fudge crunch, as predicted. So I had half cookies and cream and half dinosaur bone. I used to really like dinosaur bone as a kid, as I mentioned, because I wanted to be a paleontologist. A lot. I was really into dinosaurs. That was one of my favorite moments. One of my favorite stories my mother would tell me about when I was a kid. That I had something I couldn't remember. I remember being like, well, I don't remember. She says she remembers me being in preschool, right? Like the sort of school you go to get you sort of ready for regular classes when you have parents who work during the day and they need something to do with you. And when, it was time to finish that and quote unquote graduate, because, everyone was starting regular classes in the fall, they had a big ceremony, of course. All the parents got around and the kids got up and showed how much they learned. And the kids all got up and said what they wanted to be when they grow up. Now, most of the kids were like, policeman, doctor, firefighter, superhero, astronaut. And I got up and, I'm just like paleontologist. Like the driest, just, I want to spend my time digging in the dirt, looking for dino bones. Very unexcitedly. Yeah, I do remember an instance where, at one of these similar events when I was young, I love just running down deer. A parent of another kid came up to me and, they were going around asking all the kids what they wanted to be when they grew up. And they come to me and they're like, and what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm just like, a paleontologist. Like, 5-year-old me is just like, I want to be a paleontologist, actually. And they're just like, oh, that's cool. Walks 10 feet away. What the fuck is a paleontologist? Yeah, I remember that conversation. Oh man, I thought I was on the right side of the city. I should have just fast traveled. You know what? Let's just fast travel. Oh, I can't because I triggered too many enemies nearby. But the Minotaur is probably still chasing me down. Or a mud crab. Either way, I'm not too concerned. I have more speed than anything in the game except my eek. I don't think you can ever outrun my eek. I think he just permanently has like the Master's Aller. What the fuck is the spell called? Master's Alacrity? Alacrity? Master's Alacrity. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I've ever seen that word before outside of the context of this game. And I don't think I've ever given it the time of day before. That thing. I think he has... What was that? What was that flash of light? Something just throw a lightning bolt at me? Oh, we need to go to the shrine for the pilgrimage. Hold up. Whoop. Alright, I knew that was gonna hurt. See, this is the biggest problem with having a character with this much speed. The game doesn't really handle 3D well. So I'll just be going, down penance. Do I have a bounty? I have a 5 gold bounty somewheres. What the fuck? Alright, well that's bullshit. But yeah, if you're going downhill, because the 3D isn't like good, for lack of a better word, you basically just if you're moving too fast, you just walk off into the air like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. because the angles don't really work in this game, right? Like it understands that you're going down a hill, but the model doesn't behave correctly for that. So it's really just like I'm running forward on a slope. And I'm moving so fast that before the game can register to slope me, it just lets me run straight forward. Which, of course, when you're running straight forward off a slope, there's suddenly a huge gap to fall down, and you end up taking damage. It literally happens to me all of the fucking time in this game because I always build high speed characters. High speed, high luck. That's what life's about, man. Because I got so tired of running through and actually having to do Oblivion Gates. I normally also have like maxed illusion at this point in the game and just go invisible. I just invisibly run my way through Oblivion Gates, only popping out of invisibility to open doors or hit any lever that I have to hit, of course, because you can't do that and remain invisible. Let's go talk to Traven. Or is he dead already? Nope. All right.
He was the only. This is what. From what he's told you, Manimarco, the king of worms, is here in Cyrodiil and preying on. We'll need a few days to digest this new information. Should Jaskar arrive here.
What a fucking useless idiot. We need a few days. You're scaring us, Sonny. I think the enchanting place is over here. So, on a different note, I was finally playing a bit of my birthday gift. I haven't really, in the month since I've gotten it, used it. Which is Fire Emblem Echoes Shadow of Valencia. I have no item I can enchant. Well, I also don't think I have any souls, so that's fair. Which I discovered because I hadn't done too much research into it beforehand. I discovered that it was a remake of an older Fire Emblem, and I really like when they do that because I didn't get to play the Japanese ones, of course. I mean, I've played some of them on ROMs, like emulators, and it was awful. It has a lot of weird new mechanics, but I think I'm getting the hang of it. I'm only playing on hard classic. I always play Fire Emblem games on classic. The permadeath is a big part of what I like about Fire Emblem. To be 100% honest, it's a huge part of what I like of Fire Emblem. It's just because I beat the game I beat those games on the hardest difficulty setting without ever losing anyone. And now that doesn't mean I do it perfectly. It means if someone dies, I pause, take a minute, redo the entire level. If I'm on the last boss in the last mission, and I've been in the mission for an hour and a half, tactically taking my time through the game, and someone dies, you're damn well betting I'm going to start that whole hour and a half journey over and figure out what I can do tactically that would let me not have that happen. I'm just very adamant about that kind of thing. Are you the person I need to see? Training.
Mighty bold of you asking. I bet you don't know the first thing about smithing. You answer a simple question, and I'll think about training you. Well, so you do know a thing or two. Hazadir was my great. All right, you're not hope. You've got a lot to learn.
Awesome.
Good.
I'll take some free training in blacksmith. I mean, it's not free, but I mean, I'll pay for it.
Let's see if.
Long days and night at the forge make you strong and tough. You are now an expert armorer. You can repair items up to 125% of their normal health. Weapons with health above 100% do extra damage. That's awesome. That's really good since, you know, I have the shit light armor that I do possess. That's cool. I like that. But yeah, so I've been playing the Fire Emblem game. I did like 3-4 fights. It's alright. It definitely had some weird moments and weird characters going on that had me just sort of looking at them going, I don't know. You're probably evil as shit, but we'll see. But yeah, no, I've the only Fire Emblem game that's come out in recent years that I haven't finished on the hardest difficulty setting without losing anyone is Conquest. The Conquest, Birthright, and whatever the other one was called. And that's actually on protest, because that game was a huge cash grab, and the people who directly made that game can go fuck themselves. Like, it is bullshit. So I have Conquest, and when I was playing it, it was revealed to me that one, I would not be able to fully level all of my characters, which is a huge thing for me. I understand in the older Fire Emblem games that you can't do it because there's no way to farm experience, and I tolerate that. But it still lets me get any of the characters I want up, right? Send it to level 30. 69 luck. So I have this sort of moment with it where it's just like, alright, I'm already sort of turned off because some of the Fire Emblem games, especially the most recent Fire Emblem game, had a way for me to do that. Fire Emblem Awakening is probably the second best Fire Emblem game I've ever played, if I'm being 100% honest. The first being Sacred Stones. I loved Sacred Stones, but that's beside the point. So, already I was a little turned off. Two, it gets to the point in the game where it gives you an option. Side with your birth family, side with your adopted family, or neither, start your own country. Unless you pay an additional $20 per choice besides the one choice you get in your game, there is no choice. So I get to that moment in the game, and everything's graded except the one choice I have. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. That is literally giving me 1/3 of a game and demanding I pay you again the entire price of the game to unlock the other half of the content. That isn't cool. I don't let any other company get away with that shit. I'm not letting you get away with that shit. On top of that, they just did some really weird things with the classes and like the dragon blood shit that you could do was just really weird. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of the characters were really interesting to look at, and I definitely think I would have enjoyed it. But the fact that my version of the game is harder, which I'm fine with. Again, I normally end up playing the games on lunatic mode anyways. It's harder with less experience, with less ways to get money, where I will never be able to fully upgrade enough of my characters, is just a slap in the face. Like, it's bullshit. Now, don't get me wrong. I usually get annoyed with lunatic mode anyways, just because the enemies get harder, but you get reduced experience, which I'm just against. I think if the game gets harder, you should be awarded more experience because you're facing harder foes. If in real life, if we were looking at this objectively, fighting a harder enemy would award you more experience should you survive the encounter, because it means you faced something more difficult. Oh, I'm a warlock now. Sweet. And I'm pretty adamant about that. And the first game in the Fire Emblem series where I really noticed there was a discrepancy in this.
At the worst possible, a course of action could not be agreed upon. Some felt that we are in danger, others felt it appropriate to fight fire with fire, as it were. The Necromancer's amulet and the Bloodworm help. A group of mages led by Earl
Alright, one second.
took the helm and have retreated to... They hope to learn enough from it to find some way to fight Manimarco. I would like the helm returned so that it may be kept safe here in the university. Garanya insisted on removing it from the university. While I do not doubt that she was right, I question whether her motives were genuine. I fear she is not safe from the minions of the King of Worms. She is at fort on... Help her.
Alright, sweet.
It Karanya in. I help.
Oh, there's the timer. I'm gonna keep playing for a few minutes and ranting, mostly because I did an 8-minute episode Wednesday. So yeah, so the first time in a game I noticed in Fire Emblem at least the game getting noticeably more difficult was when I was playing Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn for the second time. So I'd already gone through and beaten the game once on hard, and I was like, all right, time to go back, do Lunatic, and play it a little different. Because my ending for Radiant Dawn was actually really shitty. Because up until Fire Emblem Awakening, um, I never really focused all that much on relationship support levels, except in a few very specific cases, because it meant someone wasn't fighting, right? Because they had to fight front to back in order to get the bonuses. In Awakening, characters could stack up on top of each other and give each other stat bonuses and build the relationships, which made it way more motivated on my end to actually do that. And I was a little bummed out because the ending of a Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn is extremely depressing if you don't build up any of your relationships, because the characters all just sort of go off on their own and die alone. That's it. That's what happens. The war ends. They go off and do their own individual things and then die. And it was super depressing to me. Like, it literally pushed me into like a depressed episode, like out of nowheres. I was like, fuck, what the fuck did I do? I was actually hurt. So I went back and I was like, all right, I'm gonna play through the game on Lunatic. So I start playing through the game on Lunatic. I'm just trying to find someone who can recharge my magic items. At this point, it's driving me insane. So I went back and started the game on Lunatic. Now, Radiant Dawn is the sequel to Path of Radiance. I really like Path of Radiance, personally. It is a good game, in my opinion. Yeah, you're just selling stells, man. Who recharges weapons? 1 second. I really, really liked Path of Radiance. I really liked its story. At the time, I really liked Ike. Item recharger. Oblivion. I got every optional character. I really liked the Lagoos. I liked the Lagoos story. Alright, so I want Oblivion, not Skyrim, you fuck. It just says Mages Guild. Alright, we'll go to one of the guilds. 1 second, I need to put my phone somewhere. Alright. Oh, my fingers aren't on the right keys. There we go. I wasn't on the home row, yo. So, I went in, and so Radiant Dawn takes place after the Path of Radiance. It takes place like 10 years after it or something. And basically, Path of Radiance, this army from another nation shows up, starts murdering people and attempting to wreck shit. And over the course of the game, you stop that from happening. Alright, you shut it down. And win the war in the end. But in those 10 years, everyone starts treating that nation very poorly. Alright, because they attempted to do a thing that was, dickish and lost. So just sort of like with Germany, right? After World War II or World War I, the war reparations that were put onto Germany that they had to pay the compensation to other nations triggered World War II by pushing their entire country into an economic state of crisis. So, and it allowed Hitler to, be Hitler and get away with it. Well, I mean, at least convince other people that what he was doing was the right thing. Right? So, And then it follows one of the optional side characters from the first game, who you could, in theory, recruit, though you could never promote him. He specifically training spells. He could specifically never be promoted. There's recharge. Thank you. Let's get this up. Let's get this up. I mean, we have 26,000 gold. We can afford this. Awesome. All right, and so when you take over Radiant Dawn, you again start with some very young characters, with one partially leveled up character who's stronger than the others, which is Fire Emblem's sort of standard, right? And the trick is that you're not supposed to use that stronger character to achieve all of your kills, because if you do that, then they're just eating all of your experience. All of it. They're just devouring every little bit of it, and none of it is getting shared to the weaker units. In some of the older Fire Emblem games, especially the Game Boy Advance games, this was easily manipulated because the AI will always attack an enemy. The AI will always attack one of your units if your unit cannot attack them back. And what that translates to is if you send up an extremely strong unit, like a paladin, without any weapons equipped, right? So your paladin's charging the enemies, and then you remove their weapon. Or you just don't give them one to begin with. What'll happen is the enemies will swarm your paladin, taking swings at him. Now, of course, you're doing this in a fairly low level, which means they're not going to be able to touch a paladin. They maybe will deal, like one in three of them will be able to deal 1 damage when they hit. Because this paladin is supposed to be very high level in comparison to the rest of your guys, but his stats are going to be way base lower than the stats of the characters you gradually grow over time. Now the problem is in Radiant Dawn is that the character you start with is a thief. He's an upgraded thief, mind you, but a thief. So he's not as defensive as a paladin. Don't get me wrong, I mean, he has some pretty cool dodge, I think. Like, enemies have a hard time hitting him. But when he gets hit, he doesn't have anywhere near as large of a health pool, and he will take a decent amount of damage because he's not armored. So the problem becomes all the other characters in that part of Radiant Dawn are extremely squishy. Like, they will get one shot by basic first level enemies in the first mission if you're not playing extremely tactically, and it takes 5 of them, so like 4 of them surrounding an enemy to drop an enemy in a single turn from full health. And you're lucky at that point if none of them have died or are reduced to the point that they're just going to die on the enemy's turn. And so I noticed right away how much harder it was. I had to use my stronger units very carefully, setting up positions for my weaker units to kill to gain experience, alright? And so after the first mission, I was like, whew, man, that was really difficult. Like, that was bullshit. I bet I got some decent experience. I got in about a third of the usual experience for the entire mission. And because I had to take whatever kill I could get on whatever lower level character I could manage to safely get the attack off, it was spread out over like 6 people. And I'm like, none of these people are leveling up. Because, I mean, I'm only going to be able to level maybe 2 or 3 of them. And that's not that big of an issue right away. But the problem is with Radiant Dawn is that it follows 3 different groups. Alright, I'm just going to pause this game here because we're not doing this mission. I just want to finish this rant. So, it follows 3 different groups. There's basically different acts. So, by the time I had finished the first act, only like 2 or 3 of the characters were ready to be promoted, which is really scary. Then it goes to another act where you're playing with stronger characters with higher base stats who are already promoted. Then it goes to the next act where you're playing with the original characters from Path of Radiance who are like leveled up way beyond. Normally the max level is like 40. These people were like level 60, right? Or could at least reach level 60. Their stats were so much higher. The game is so much easier. So I'm playing through and the next 2 parts are super easy. Like, I'm having an easy time even on Lunatic because I'm decent at the game. I know what I'm doing. And again, I've played with all these characters through Path of Radiance, like, on every difficulty setting. So I'm just good with them. Then you get to the 4th act, where the people from the first act and the third are together, and it was a shit show. Suddenly, I had these ridiculously overpowered characters who, yeah, could probably walk their way through an entire mission, but I still had the weaklings with me. And at some points in some missions, some people were unavailable, and I was forced to use more weaklings in order to flush out my numbers, or I couldn't not take them. Like there were parts of that weaker group that were forced to take as part of the story, and they were still now they were like heavily one-shottable by everybody, and there started to be characters who had like bombardment spells, like artillery they could shoot from across the map. It became a nightmare, right? I just, ugh, it was a mess. I really would love to see them remake Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn as one cohesive story, and then just release it for the Switch. That would be awesome. That'd be another reason to get a Switch. I'm just saving again because I'm crazy like that. So long and short of it is, I had decent ice cream, not the one I wanted, and Fire Emblem is a good game. I want to thank you all for coming by. Have yourself a fantastic day.